Hello all. So in this lecture we will see about Agile Development Model. So in the 1970s and 80s, the iterative waterfall model was popular among the developers. But the problem with this iterative waterfall model was associated with this change request. How to handle this change request? Because most of the requests came, or most of the requirements came from the customers after the development has begun. But in the iterative waterfall model, we have mentioned that all the requirements should be fixed at the initial stage itself, or before the development has begun, we have to fix the requirements. But it was not possible. Most of the real-time projects, when we see that requirements came after the development has begun. So it has become a problem that we cannot accommodate those change requests. Then also there was high cost and also time incurred by while developing a customized application. So if you want to develop customized applications, it was difficult when we follow this iterative waterfall model. So why waterfall model cannot be used? We will see some. So one is requirements are determined at the start in the case of iterative waterfall model or waterfall model. So what happens is we cannot include later requirements. If some requirements came after the development has begun, we cannot make that. So in the waterfall model, we have to fix that SRS document. Then only we will start development. So it is not possible. 40% of the requirements, when they studied about 800 live projects, real-time projects, they found out that 40% of the requirements came after the development has begun. So it is not possible to accommodate those changes in the waterfall model. So that was one of the major issues with this waterfall models. Then the second issue was need for customized applications. So if we want to develop customized applications, we cannot go for iterative waterfall model because customizing software involves reusable. We have to reuse some of the components. That is, we have already developed, for example, we have developed a campus management software for a particular college. And if we want to develop the same campus management software for another college, we have to just customize the previous software. So in the iterative waterfall model, we are not mentioning about this reusability and all. So we can simply reuse that same software and we have to make some changes in the software and we can develop new campus. So that was not possible with the iterative waterfall model. Then waterfall model is considered to be a heavyweight model because documentation is one of the most important things in iterative in the waterfall models. So after completion of each phase, there will be several documents. So documentation itself takes much longer time. Okay. So and also we have to use many tools to document this thing. So it is not possible to or the cost to do this documentation is very high. Then, and the fourth problem is there is no customer interaction. So there is no customer interaction in the waterfall model. We know that customer interaction is only at the initial stage. When we gather the requirements, we talk with the customers and we try to gather all the requirements from the customer. After that, the customer has to wait until the software product is developed and it is given to the customer. So there is no interaction between the customer after the development has begun. So that is also a problem with this iterative waterfall model. So that is why this agile model came in mid-90s. So agile means to move quickly. If you want to move quickly, then we have to go for agile model. So we will see this agile model. So actually, agile model is not a particular model. It is not a particular model. It is actually a name given to a set of models. So there are different models under this umbrella. Under this agile umbrella, there are different models. These are some of the models: Crystal, Actor, Feature-Driven Development, Scrum Model, Extreme Programming, Lean Development, and Unified Process. So these are some of the agile models. So agile model is a name given to a group of models. So it is not a particular model. It is a name given to a group of models. These are some of the agile models, and we will be seeing Scrum programming, Scrum model, and also extreme programming. Okay. Unified process is a object-oriented development model. You might have heard about the unified modeling language and all. So unified modeling language, it is related with the unified process model. So this is the basic structure of this agile model. So what we do is we develop, it is an iterative and it's also an incremental model. So every iteration there will be some software. So every iteration will be like this. We will be planning, requirement analysis will be done, designing, building, testing. So after this iteration one, there will be some software, and it may not be 2-3 months, it may be 2-3 weeks also. And after that, the second iteration will begin, and we will complete that thing. And there is another version of the software. Then after some time, iteration 3 like this, it will go on like this. So this is the basic structure of this agile model. So here, the requirements will be decomposed into small parts, and it adopts iterative approach. We have already seen this. It is iterations. So there will be several iterations, and these iterations will be a couple of weeks only. It may, for maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, we will be developing part of that software, and we will be delivering it to the customer, and the customer can use that software. And only one increment is planned, developed, and deployed each time. And there is no long-term plan in this model. All are short-term plans. We will plan only for a particular increment. And there is a term called time box. It is a time to complete one iteration. So one iteration, it is a time taken to complete one iteration. It is known as time box. So after each time box, there will be an increment of that software, or a particular software will be delivered. So here, this end date won't change. We will fix that end date, and at that date itself, we have to deliver that software. So delivery of an increment after each time box. So after each time box, we will deliver an increment of that software. So that increment will be developed within 2-3 weeks. So after every 2-3 weeks. So nowadays, app development are all following this agile model. So every 2-3 weeks, we will be getting some version of the software. Okay. So we'll see the essential idea behind agile models. Okay. So one thing is that the first idea behind this agile model is customer representative will be there in the team. It's not like in the iterative model and all. In the waterfall model and all, we have seen that customer interaction is only at the initial stage. But in this agile development model, the customer representative will be there in the team. He will be visiting this site, or will be with the development team all throughout the development. So that is one of the major things in this. So always that customer interaction will be there. So customer representative will be there in the team, and there will be frequent delivery of increments. So we have seen that time box is just a couple of weeks. So within 2 or 3 weeks, we will be developing an increment, and we will be delivering it to the customer. And here it is face-to-face communication over written documents. So we are in the waterfall model, we have mentioned that documentation is important. Here, face-to-face communication is more important than written documents. And the development team is usually of small size. It may be 5 to 9 members only. So if it is a very large project, if it is a small project, then we can develop between 5 to 9 members. If it is a large project, what we do is we will have a collaborating team at different locations. We will have several teams of this 5 small teams, like 5 to 9 members will be sitting at different locations, and they will be developing the software and will be delivering. So we'll see the principles behind this agile model. So there was an agile manifesto that was published in 2001. So based on that, there are some of the important principles. So we will see some of the important principles behind this agile model. So first important principle is working software over comprehensive documentation. So we have seen in waterfall model and all, documentation is the most important thing. But here, working software is more important than documentation. So we have to deliver this software after every time box. and frequent delivery of incremental versions of software in intervals of weeks. So we have to deliver this incremental versions of the software within intervals of weeks. So that is another principle. And another third principle is requirement change requests from the customer are encouraged. So here change requests will be encouraged. So customer can give requirements or specify these requirements at any time of the project. Maybe after development, after delivery of first increment, the customer might say, I want this thing. So if you say some example of apps like WhatsApp and all, so they are updating the software. In the initial stage, it was only for messaging service. Later on, they added this calling facility. Then they added video calling facility. Then they added some pictures. You can send media messages or multimedia messages. Then they have the status thing. So everything was delivered throughout this time. In the initial stage, it was only used as a messaging service. Now everything can be done using this WhatsApp. So that is it. So all these requests came after during this development itself, or during the running of the software. So requirement change requests from the customer are always encouraged in this agile model. And here, competent team members and enhancing interactions. So we have the team member interaction is also important, because every day, usually in this development model, every day they will have meetings. Maybe in the morning they will have one meeting, and in the evening also they will be having some meeting. And also they used to have a technique known as pair programming. So in pair programming, two programmers work together at one system. Will be sitting in a single system and they will be working together. So what they do is, one person will be writing the code and the other person will be watching it. So if some error or some logical errors occur, the other person will note and he will inform the other person. Like that, for 30 minutes, one will be writing the coding, the other will be watching. And after 30 minutes, maybe the second person will start writing coding and the other person will be watching. And they will switch this thing throughout the day. So more interaction will be there between these team members, and also there will be frequent interviews or frequent discussions and all, or meetings will be there. And also there is continuous interaction with the customer also, because we have already mentioned that in the agile model, the customer will be there in the development team. So one person from the customer will be there throughout the development. So if you are developing some app for some company, then that member from that company will be there in this development team. So he will be attending the meetings. Maybe in the morning, every morning they will be having meetings. So this person from the company will also be attending the meeting. That customer will also be attending this meeting, so he can interact with the development team also. So there will be continuous interaction with the customer. So these are some of the principles behind agile models. So you will see the advantages of this agile model. So it is a very realistic approach, because we know that requirements might change throughout the development. So it is possible to accommodate those changing requirements in this development. And also it promotes teamwork. We have already seen how it promotes teamwork and all. Then functionality can be developed rapidly. So every 2-3 weeks we will be delivering some increments. Then resource requirements are minimum. Then suitable for fixed or changing requirements. In both the cases, it is possible to use this agile model. Delivers early partial working solutions. So we will be delivering partial working solutions. So every increment is a working solution of that product. And good model for environments that change steadily also. So if you see that WhatsApp, the change is steady growth. So if you see, initially it was messaging, then came video call, then afterwards it came, I think initially it was messaging, only text messaging was there, then they added multimedia messaging facility, then they added voice call, video call, like that it gone. So in those type of environments, this agile model is much more suitable. And there is minimal rules and minimum documentation, and enables concurrent development and delivery. So we can deliver concurrent development and delivery is possible. We have already seen. So if there's a large project, several teams will be developing this software in several different locations. and little or no planning is required. We have already seen that we will plan only for that particular increment. So little or no planning is required at all in this development model. And also it is very easy to manage the software because only a small development team is there and every person will be interacting with each other. So it is very easy to manage this kind of development. And there are several disadvantages of also not suitable for handling complex dependencies. So if it is a complex software which have complex dependencies and all, it is not good to use this model. And more risk of sustainability, maintainability, and extensibility, because maintainability is a big issue, because we have already seen that documentation is very less. If the development team has changed, if they leave this company and some other new people come into this software, then they know nothing about this software, and the documentation is very less. So what the earlier persons have done may not be known to the new persons. So that is a problem in this case. An overall plan, an agile leader and agile program manager practice is a must, without which it will not work. So there should be an overall plan, and also an agile leader should be there, and an agile program manager should be there. Then only this will work. And depends heavily on customer interaction. So customer interaction is important here. So if the customer is not willing to interact, then it will be a problem to develop. So that is why there is always a feedback mechanism in most of the apps we see. So if you say Play Store, we can write the comments and feedback. We can give the feedback. That's how they will be changing those software. So if you have problem with WhatsApp, you can simply mention the feedback, and they know there is some problem with this user. So in the next delivery of that increment, they can accommodate those changes. So there is a very high individual dependency, since there is a minimum documentation generated. So individual dependency is high because minimum documentation is there. So that software developer should be there in the team throughout the development process. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. The transfer of technology to new team members may be quite challenging due to lack of documentation. We will see this Agile, we will compare Agile with other models. So we will see with Agile versus iterative waterfall model. In waterfall model, it's highly structured and systematic steps are there, and also documentation is important in that case. We have already seen all these things. While in the Agile model, the progress is measured by measuring the functionalities that we develop and deliver. In the case of waterfall model, it is the documents that mention how we are completing that project. In this case, it is the functionalities that we will deliver will show how we are progressing. So delivery of versions of software is important in this Agile model. And in the case of iterative waterfall model, if the software development is cancelled midway, so if during development stage or during testing stage we stop developing that software, then nothing will be there to show. But in this case, if we are stopping this development, there will be some working software which can be used by people. So that's the difference between Agile and iterative waterfall model. Then we can compare with Agile versus exploratory program. In exploratory programming, it is not in the Agile model. We give importance to face-to-face communication, and also a little bit documentation is also there. But in the exploratory team, it is simply build and fix. So there is no particular planning and all. But it is different from Agile model. Okay, there is in the Agile exploratory program, it is chaotic programming also. The code may not be efficient at all. Okay. Then Agile versus RAD model. So the difference between Agile and RAD model. So Agile model does not recommend this developing this prototypes, but in the RAD model, that prototype is important. We will be developing a quick and dirty prototype, and which will be refined again. But here we won't develop any prototype and all. We will be developing some working software itself. Then Agile projects, what we do is we logically break down the solution into features that are incrementally developed and delivered. But RAD doesn't do that. what they do is they will be developing some features of an application, then they will try to modify those features. That's what they do in RAD model. Then the third difference is agile teams only demonstrate completed project work to the customer. But in the RAD model, that prototype may not be a complete thing. It cannot be used by the customer at all. So that's the difference between agile and RAD model. So that's all about agile model. The next lecture we'll see about extreme programming. Thank you.